Hey everybody, it's Chris. Today we're at a new boat ramp. Well, new to me. We're in Galilee, Rhode Island, which is a small commercial fishing village in southern Rhode Island in the town of Narragansett. As you can see, it's a beautiful day other than a little Canadian smoke we may have to deal with, but that's okay. So this ramp puts us into what's called Point Judith Pond, which is what we're looking at right now. And then we're gonna go right under that bridge there and head out the channel between Jerusalem, Rhode Island and Galilee, Rhode Island, and then out to sea from there. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about why I chose the Yamaha Waverunner, why I chose the Waverunner VX Cruiser HO in particular. As I said in other videos, I'm not looking for a fight over this, but I'm just giving you one man's opinion on why I made the choice that I did. Now, in my last video, I started to tell you a Seinfeld story that I think is pretty funny related to the Waverunner, and then I had GoPro issues, so I said I'd continue it in this video. So if you're a Seinfeld fan and you remember the Junior Mint episode, so my second time out, so this video is my fourth time out with the Waverunner, but my second time out, I get the Waverunner home and I start the cleaning process, which involves flushing the engine. Well, the flush port on the engine has a cap, of course, and the cap is a tiny little black plastic cap. When I say tiny, I mean think the size of 16-ounce bottle of water, those little white caps, it's like that. There's a tether to it, but the tether is a very weak tether. It's like a little rubber strap. Anyway, I dropped the cap into the engine compartment. My dealer tried to get it out. He used a mirror and a flashlight. He put the Waverunner, which is right in front of us here, on a forklift to kind of jack it up. He used an air compressor to blow the cap. We could hear the cap blowing around. We just couldn't find it. So it's still down at the bottom of the hull, but that's okay. Let's go out for a ride. Okay, so let's talk about why I bought a Yamaha Waverunner VX Cruiser HO. So the GoPro's been on the blink. The last time it shut down completely when I started it up, it like reset my settings, and I think I put them back to where they're supposed to be, but I don't know about that for sure. I guess I should use the no wake feature here, so I don't have to touch the throttle. So before I can talk about why I bought the Yamaha instead of a Kawasaki or a Sea Doo, I've got to go back to the history of this channel, which started out as a moto vlog chronicling my adventures, my purchase, my rides, gear, accessories, and whatnot for my Can-Am Spyder. It was a 2003 Can-Am Spyder RT Limited. Like this, I bought a leftover, so I bought it in 24, and that Spyder was made by, or is made by BRP, Bombardier Recreational Products, the same people who make the Sea Doo and the same people that make the Ski Doo snowmobile. And I will tell you that I love that machine. I had it for a year and a half. I put 26,000 miles, which, you know, that's a lot of miles for a motorcycle. I went down to Key West for most of that year and a half that I rode it. It was my only conveyance. I sold my car and I used that even in the winter. I rode that thing in light snow. I rode it in like 8-degree weather. And as part of this new channel configuration, what I did was I compartmentalized my videos, and I have a whole playlist that is just about the Can-Am Spyder. So if you want to see any of those videos, you can just go to that playlist and watch till your heart's content. But anyway, so that thing was made by BRP. And in one of my early videos, I was riding around in Niagara Falls, New York, where I was living at the time, and I said, it was kind of an offhanded comment, but it was quite meaningful. I said, you know, I think that if Honda or Kawasaki or Suzuki or Yamaha, the people who make the Waverunner, if either one of them made a reverse trike, because that was the real appeal for me with the Spyder, the reverse trike technology. I was coming off of two-wheel motorcycles, and I did research on Harley trikes and, you know, traditional trikes versus reverse trikes. And anyway, I said in the comment, I said, I think if one of those big four Japanese manufacturers came out with a reverse trike motorcycle, I'd switch immediately. Because the Can-Am Spyders, they just didn't have a bulletproof reliability record and reputation amongst YouTubers, if you Google and read reviews, like the big four Japanese manufacturers, and I experienced that firsthand. I had numerous little issues. I called them gremlins. Some weren't really little. You know, there was an issue that was a warranty issue that related to the rear suspension system, had little electrical buggy issues, and because I had never had a personal watercraft, I didn't understand boating, I didn't understand the sea, the last thing I wanted was to have a question about when I hit that start button, would it start? Or if I would be out at sea, would the thing, you know, conk out and I wouldn't know what was wrong? I didn't want to deal with that. Now, those of you who own Sea Doos, and I have friends that own Sea Doos, I am certain that they're bulletproof in terms of reliability, but just understand, because of my personal experience, and all of this video is one man's opinion, I just chose not to go that route. So I ruled BRP out immediately. Now, Kawasaki was the pioneer with these things, right? With the original jet ski. Shoot, we still call these things jet skis. I did a whole video on, you know, this is not a jet ski, this is a personal watercraft. It is a Yamaha Waverunner, but we still call these things jet skis. That's how iconic that brand is. So there is, I'm going to just briefly aim there. There's another Block Island ferry there, waiting to take people to beautiful Block Island, which is about 13 or 14 miles that way. So anyway, it came down to Kawasaki or Yamaha. And I did kind of a spreadsheet on mid-range personal watercrafts for Yamaha, Kawasaki, and I even threw BRP in there, even though I knew I wasn't going to buy one. And there were pluses on the BRP side of the ledger that were really appealing to me, but again, I still didn't want to buy them. Well, one of the things I love about BRP is, so if I want to open my front hatch to get something, I can open it, and then I've got to reach down. I hope the GoPro's picking it up. You can see water pouring in there right now. I've got to reach over the handlebars, whereas apparently with the Sea Doos, you just lift it up right here, and it's right here. So anyway, I came down to I wanted a mid-grade personal watercraft. So Yamaha makes an FX model that is longer and a little wider, a little heavier, has more features, and it costs like 20 grand. I didn't want to do that because, quite frankly, I didn't know if I was going to spend a season on this thing and decide it wasn't for me and then sell it, and so I didn't want to get the top of the line, although that would help me in some of my seagoing voyages, my excursions. So anyway, I came down to the Yamaha VX and the comparable Kawasaki, and I forgot what that model was because I did this research months ago. And then as I did more and more research on YouTube and watched more videos, I realized that it just seemed like the Yamaha VX Cruiser was like a really popular selling brand. I didn't see, why is it that I'm taking on water here? I know my plugs are in, or they were in when I left. It just seems like my bow is, this is odd. I guess I shouldn't say I'm taking on water, but it just seems like my feet are getting wetter than they normally do, considering that these aren't, you know, we're in a channel here. And before I head out to sea, I want to make sure I get that figured out. But anyway, I narrowed it down to the VX Cruiser pretty early on. I'm going to follow these guys out, I guess. It seems like they're going faster than me. I wonder if no wake mode ended. I think the reason why I am taking on water is because I'm not planing at all, and it's just letting the bow kind of go underneath these waves. You know what? I'm going to catch up to him. I'm going to shut off no wake mode. Okay, so my bow immediately jumped up. That was the issue. The problem with this is now the audio is going to get worse because the engine noise affects the audio. So anyway, I came down to a VX Cruiser, and I didn't initially intend to get an HO. I am not a speed demon. I wasn't a speed demon on motorcycles. I'm not going to be a speed demon on this. This thing has 200 horsepower, and if my recollection is right, the non-HO model has like 125 horsepower, and I'm sure that would be okay with me. However, because I'm going to be in the ocean a lot, sometimes, if you've watched my last video, sometimes some serious chop, I thought, you know, it wouldn't be hurtful to have, it wouldn't be harmful, I guess I should say, to have a little extra power if I needed it, if I was in a jam. So I could go either way on the HO versus the standard model. Audio, you'll notice there are no speakers at my footwells there. Meant nothing to me. When I was on my motorcycle, I had an intercom system in my helmet, but I rarely used it. I found I was using it for news or to take a phone call if I had to. But the audio didn't mean anything to me, so when I went to my dealer, Wheels of Freedom in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, the only Yamaha dealer in Rhode Island, I believe, they had a leftover HO model that didn't have audio. I liked the color, not the color meant a whole lot to me, so it came down to a 26 black with audio VX Cruiser HO, or a leftover 25 white, or cream I should say, without audio, and HO also, and the difference was $15,000 for the 26 and $13,200 for the leftover. So basically I saved $1,800 by buying a leftover without audio. To me, that was an easy decision. Okay, so those guys that were in front of me have disappeared, and I know they didn't sink, so we're definitely past the no wake mode, even though I didn't see any signs indicating that. Look at these rolling waves we're getting. I don't know if that's just characteristic of when you come out of this channel, but this is now what they call a harbor of refuge that we're in. Those guys are so far in front of me. So anyway, we are now in the harbor of refuge. To our left is Point Judith Light. So as we approach Point Judith Light, I'll just point out that that is Sand Hill Cove. I believe that's now Roger Wheeler State Beach. Rhode Island Public Beach there. That is Salty Bryan State Beach. I know you can barely see it with the GoPro. Salty Bryan was an iconic radio talk show host. Wasn't really a talk show host, but he was kind of an iconic Rhode Island morning anchor for a radio show. They named a beach after him. I see seaweed, which I don't like to see because I've heard horror stories about it getting in the intakes for these things, and that can be bad. And even though we're in the harbor of refuge, I don't know why I always just thought this thing would be like a lake. We're getting minor swells, and when I say minor, I mean like, I don't know, a foot or two. I adjusted the angle of the camera just a little bit up. It's really hard for me to see the screen. You can see part of a stone jetty here, which is part of the Harbor of Refuge structure that the Army Corps of Engineers maintains. Oh, is that a pilot? Harbor pilot of some sort? Awesome. Interport pilot, whatever that is. Oh, we're getting a little, wow. From that little boat. I guess I shouldn't say little boat, he's a lot bigger than me. A couple of big swells. So now we're heading out to sea, out of the Harbor of Refuge. Block Island, Rhode Island is dead ahead that way. I don't know if it's 12, 13, or 14 miles. I can see it now. It's actually dead ahead that way. Someday we're going to get out there. Not today. I need to feel a lot more comfortable on this thing than I do. It's a cool buoy. Very cool. When I see those things, I'm reminded of the beginning of Jaws when the girl, Chrissy, is dragged out to one of those buoys by the shark. Okay, so Point Judith Light is dead ahead. I am certain you can see it. We're going to end up going behind the Seat up ahead. And he might give us a little wave action, but I don't see much natural wave action out here, which is good. All right, we'll see what kind of wave action he's going to give us. The big boat. And it doesn't look like there's anyone in that boat behind him. Could it be that he's towing that boat? All right, here we go. Whoa, yeah. Whoop-de-doos. Nice. Now, there are sharks in Narragansett Bay, including great white sharks. There was one spotted off the coast of Block Island just recently. He was feeding on the carcass of a dead whale. But I will tell you, I'm not really worried because I'm kind of an expert on sharks. Not because I studied oceanography or marine biology in school, but because I've seen Jaws like 100 times, more than 100 times. I referenced it earlier, and I learned so much about sharks from Hooper and Quint and Brody and Mayor Vaughn, so I feel like I'm an expert. So I know if I have a shark attacking me, I know just what to do. I'll take an oxygen tank and ram it into his mouth, and then I'll take a rifle and from a distance shoot the oxygen tank, and it'll blow him to smithereens. Of course, I have neither an oxygen tank nor, I actually have a fire extinguisher, but I don't think that would blow to the level of an oxygen tank. But I certainly don't have a rifle. And I don't have a mast that I could kind of perch up on. So maybe I should hope I don't see a great white shark after all. Again, we're just wandering. We're heading kind of in a east, I guess, northeasterly direction from the lighthouse, but we're not far. In fact, I'm going to just go in a circle so you can see. You can see the shore there. You can see Point Judith Light dead ahead. There's the light. It's funny how the waves just kind of like appear and then it's calm and then they reappear. I guess I never really knew that worked that way. I just figured it'd be kind of a steady state. Whether it was really choppy or really clear, it would be somewhat constant. I see something up ahead. Looks like a sailboat or something. It looks pretty cool. This object that I see dead ahead that I'm just wandering, but I find myself drawn to it. I think it's a sailboat, but it doesn't appear to be moving. The winds are light today, I know that, like 5 to 10 miles per hour. Oh yeah, here we go. You see what I mean? Like just like a couple of swells, and then it looks like it's leveling off dead ahead. So back to the Yamaha Waverunner. I will tell you, it's early on. This is my 4th time out. A guy asked me in the comments of one of my earlier videos, would you recommend it? And I said, look, based on my experience, it's way too early for me to recommend it. But based on my research, I mean, I bought it for a reason, so I would recommend it based on my kind of thorough research. But I will tell you, even though it's early on, I can tell you there's a couple of things that I don't like. So first of all, filling it up with fuel. We're getting close to the structure, whatever it is. But anyway, when you fill it up, it's impossible to see the level of fuel. Just impossible. So the first time I filled it up, there was only 5 gallons in the tank. So I knew I had 13 gallons to go. It's an 18.5 gallon fuel tank. Yeah, that is a sailboat. I guess it's just kind of, I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, I put in like a couple of gallons and all of a sudden gas is like, it's like a volcano pouring out of the fuel filler. So I know it's not full. So then I think, okay, I've got to slow down with the amount I'm putting in. So anyway, fueling up is a real pain. And I fueled up, today was my 4th time. And I guess I wish that the fuel filler pipe was a little bit wider so you could see in it. Yeah, that looks like it's an awesome, almost antique sailboat. We're going to kind of go around him and then head back. The other thing is, I just showed you how when I opened the door, water started coming in, this front door. I think that's probably inherent in the nature of these things, but what I would change is I'd do it the way Sea Doo does it, and figure out a way to like lift up the steering, the handlebars with the mirrors to get to the compartment. Now, see that boat? Pretty cool, huh? I don't want to go around him. We're going to head back now, but pretty awesome. Okay, so I don't know. I doubt you can see it, but we're going to just follow the... I don't need a GPS navigation. We're going to follow the lighthouse. But what I do not like about the Sea Doos, and I believe this is all of the Sea Doos, is to put the gas in, you've got to open the hood. And I hated that about my Can-Am Spyder. To fill up every motorcycle I had, I could pull up to a gas station, sit on the bike, unfuel it right in front of me. And I know some of you are saying that's not safe. I know it's not safe, but I did it anyway. But the fuel filler door for the Can-Am Spyder, I had to get off the machine and lift up the seat, and that was a pain in the neck. Whereas with the Yamahas, it's right there. So it's a love-hate thing. All right, so like I said, here comes some more chop. Like just out of the blue, it just appears. And now it's gone. Well, now it's diminished. I guess that's just the nature of the sea and not being a boater, not growing up on a boat, not knowing anything about any of this. It's just a surprise to me is all. So my GoPro just gave me a warning, like a flash on not a flash, but a screen. It was a white screen and it said something, but I can't read it because the camera's so close to my eyes. Just like so close to my mouth, I should say, that I just can't read what it said. I hope I'm not talking to myself. I hope I'm getting video. So if you're into personal watercraft, whether that be the Kawasaki Jet Ski or the BRP Sea Doo or the Yamaha Waverunner, particularly from the perspective of a newbie, someone who is not into boating, didn't grow up on boats, we'll discuss not just the Waverunner, we'll go on adventures on the Waverunner, gear. You know, when you buy these things, you gotta buy a bunch of other things, like this sun shirt. I never had a sun shirt, but I don't wear sunscreen, so I've got a hat to cover up my head, and this shirt covering up my my arms. The channel is called Wander with Chris because it was called Spyder Chris when I was on a Can-Am Spyder. When I stopped riding the Spyder, it was just chronicling my adventures, hiking the Niagara Gorge, walking along Duval Street and Key West, walking around downtown Toronto. But now that I've got the Waverunner, I'm going to continue to call the channel Wander with Chris, because let's face it, we're going to be wandering around on a personal watercraft. Because I publish videos weekly, and I ride this thing more than weekly, I'll be accumulating videos, scheduling them out, so we'll be running Yamaha Waverunners, I'm thinking well into September and October. And then in the off season, it'll go back to Wander with Chris, wandering, you know, the Adirondacks, the White Mountains of New Hampshire on my travels. We'll go down to Florida in the winter, as I'm prone to do. I will tell you, one of the experiences on this thing that was new to me that I just didn't expect until I rented one of these, not far from here actually, like the week before I bought this, was getting soaking wet. I don't know why, I was naive. I thought I'd get on this thing and be like a boat. I'd drive around and I wouldn't get wet. But, I mean, it's not that bad right now. My feet are wet, my sunglasses are wet, but my shirt is dry, even my bathing suit is dry. The last time I was out, though, it was like I jumped into the ocean. That's how wet I was. And I wasn't just expecting that. Now, that's just my, you know, how naive I was not being experienced in these things, because obviously you're dealing with waves, you're dealing with, you know, the fact that you're so low to the ground, you're not enclosed like you are in a boat. Okay, shame on me, but I just noticed that my tether was not attached to my wrist. These things have a safety device, as you probably know. If I fall off the machine, this thing comes out like snowmobiles and it shuts the engine down, so this won't, you know, take off for me. It'll just kind of circle. But that only works if it's attached to you, and it was not. That boat's throwing off a little wave action. I don't know if I should be going, I'm going 16 miles an hour. Should I be going 5? I haven't seen a sign yet, but maybe I'm like, I can go faster until we see the sign. I don't know if you can see, but there are sunbathers, like that's the beach right there, Salty Bryan State Beach. Okay, slow, no wake, right there. So I'm gonna push the no wake button. No one behind me. So George's of Galilee right there is a great seafood place. Lots of seafood places down here. I do not eat seafood other than clam chowder and clam cakes. So see, my bow is, because I'm no wake, my bow is pointed down, and I'm taking on, my feet are like getting in the water. The water's coming over the bow. I guess that's just the characteristic of this thing when you're going slow, and here's some waves. So, oh my gosh. You know how I said I wasn't wet? I am now soaking wet. There's a boat coming dead ahead. I guess I should pay attention to that. I am now completely wet. That one wave just went right over my shirt. As you can see, you can't see my legs, but they're soaking wet. I'm guessing these waves are gonna do the same. I really would like to get out of no wake and just kind of go over these waves. In fact, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna just, because I can't take on that water. I can, but I choose not to. Now we'll go back to no wake. Well, I learned something today, right? When you're in no wake and you're going that slow in this thing, even the slightest waves will just come right over. And with the slightly bigger wave caused by that boat back there, it's like, look at these things, they're pouring over. I'm taking on water, and I'm sorry, no wake. Where the no wake police is, I'm sorry, but like, I hope you understand, I just can't do it. No wake is 5 miles an hour, I'm going 6, 7, just a little bit faster. There's the Block Island Ferry terminal there. Bunch of cormorants here. So the Block Island Ferry just let out a toot. He has taken off, so I'll just turn around so you can see him. They're heading out to beautiful Block Island. Again, we'll get out there someday on this thing. Well, I hope you like this video. I hope it was somewhat helpful to you if you're in the market for a Waverunner, based on my initial observations and my, you know, homework before I bought this thing. If you did like this video, please hit that like button. If you have any comments on anything we saw, anything we talked about, any of your experiences on these things. So the GoPro just shut down on me. I don't know what's going on with it, but if you have any comments, please comment. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, if you would subscribe, I sure would appreciate it. I don't know what's going on with the GoPro, but I'm going to just say very quickly, thanks for watching. Have a great day. So I don't know what's going on with my trusty GoPro, but it is trusty no more. I don't know if it's the salt getting to it. It could be me and not understanding the settings, but I apologize for the way the video ended on the Watercraft. Thanks again for watching. I really do appreciate it. And until the next video, you have a great day. Bye-bye.